Chapter 161 Despair Time Rewinds. While sitting in the Taishu Divine Palace, the ancestor who created the array plate suddenly heard a commotion outside. He thought it was He Pingxing who had returned, and habitually didn't use his divine sense to check. However, when the old man saw his son, Wu Wei, enter, his mouth dropped open. "You, how did you get here?" "Fine, my dear father." Wu Wei jumped up in anger. "Didn't you say you were going into seclusion? You said you were going to kill those 2 nascent soul cultivators from the beast-taming immortal sect after you went into seclusion, but you lied to me." "You lied to me. Old man, what exactly do you want? Are you going to pass on the great mystery scripture of the Great Void to that kid surnamed He?" The Grandmaster Taishu's eyes narrowed slightly, revealing a murderous glint. He looked at the key to activate the formation in Wu Wei's hand and asked, "Where did you get your formation key? Where is that brat He now?" "Don't worry," Wu Wei said, "he's fine. He sent me to find you." "What?" Taishu Patriarch secretly thought something was wrong. Then his immense divine sense burst forth, enveloping the entire Taishu sect. Unfortunately, He Pingxing had already activated his stealth mode by this time, and his figure remained motionless, without revealing a single trace of his spiritual power. How could the Grandmaster Taishu have seen He Pingxing's whereabouts? Startled, the old man took a step forward and disappeared from the hall. When they reappeared, they were already on Xiuzhu Peak. He knew that He Pingxing came from Xiuzhu Peak, and perhaps he could find some clues there. Several disciples on Xiuzhu Peak were asked, but none of them knew where He Pingxing had gone. Only one girl told him that early in the morning, the 2 snow rock birds that He Pingxing had raised had headed southeast. The ancestor dared not delay and hurried towards the southeast. At the same time, his overwhelming divine thoughts surged forth wildly. Finally, after flying for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, he saw 2 snow rocks. However, the person sitting on Xuepeng was not He Pingxing, but an ugly, fat man. After seeing the ancestor, the fat man even sent a message back. At this moment, Boss Taishu finally understood. "Oh no." He slapped his forehead. "I've been tricked by this kid. Damn it, I've lived my whole life, and I'm being schemed against by a brat who hasn't even grown up yet." Hehehe. Hehe. The Grandmaster Taishu chuckled, then teleported instantly, appearing 10,000 feet away. After a dozen or so teleportations, they arrived at the Taishu Gate. On the other side, He Pingxing piloted the airship forward. They traveled very quickly, covering tens of thousands of miles in a single day. When he finally put away his flying boat and landed at a human settlement to inquire, he learned that he had already crossed the border of the Dao Shen Alliance in just 1 day and night of flying. He Pingxing knew the terror of the nascent soul stage ancestor, so he dared not stop and fled in his flying boat. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. After flying for more than 10 days and changing direction several times, he finally flew a distance that put his mind at ease. Night has fallen. Deep within a range of mountains, He Pingxing dared not fly rashly at night. If he were to encounter those powerful demonic beasts, he would not even know how he died. Never mind. Let's find a place to rest first. Tomorrow, I'll find a place where humans gather, inquire about the location of the cultivators, and then make further plans. Don't be foolish and run into some dangerous place, or you'll really throw up. He Pingxing descended from the void, casually found a cave, blocked the entrance with stones, and then sat down cross-legged. After half a month of running around, he was exhausted, but he couldn't fall asleep. In the middle of the night, he took out his storage bag and poured out the spirit stones inside. There's a huge pile. It's tens of thousands. These spirit stones are what he has accumulated over the years. Of course, saying accumulate is not quite appropriate, as it mainly comes from killing and robbing. They killed Xiao Bufan, the Foundation Establishment Stage Daois Changping, Yu De, Linglong, Luo Yu, and others, and reaped a considerable amount of spirit stones. Hehehe. Looking at the huge pile of spirit stones, He Pingxing felt confident. With so many resources and the treasure basin in hand, am I afraid of not having enough pills for cultivation? From now on, the world is vast, and I can go anywhere. After saying that, He lay down on the pile of spirit stones and fell fast asleep. After all, he hadn't slept for more than 10 days, and these 10 days had been spent in a state of high tension. Even though he was a Foundation Establishment stage immortal, his divine sense was somewhat exhausted. I had another dream that night. I dreamt that the Grandmaster Taishu transformed into a demon, lunging at me with a gaping maw and fangs. He Pingxing was so frightened that he woke up with a shiver. He was relieved to find himself still lying on the pile of spirit stones after waking up. But the next moment, he felt something was wrong. As I slowly opened my eyes, I discovered that I was surrounded by light. He Pingxing suddenly opened his eyes wide, only to find himself in a dark and oppressive hall. The main hall was dimly lit, and there was a golden armchair on the steps in front. Inside the armchair lay an elderly man, nearing the end of his life. With a cold sweat pouring down his back, he Pingxing reached out and pinched his thigh hard, then cried out in pain. My dear reader, there's more to, even more exciting content awaits. It wasn't a dream after all. The old man in the golden chair stirred and opened his eyes. His hoarse voice rang out again, awake. He Pingxing ignored the Grandmaster Taishu and instead reached out and scratched his thigh. It still hurts a lot. Damn it, I'm doomed. I wasn't dreaming, I've been brought back again. He fled in a hurry for more than 10 days, only to be caught and brought back in one night. The key issue is that I still don't know what's going on. This. He Pingxing's eyes were filled with fear as he looked at the Taoist Taishu. And despair. If even such a brilliant escape plan of mine fails, how am I supposed to escape in the future? We're doomed. You think you're qualified to stand in the cultivation world by carrying so many spirit stones out with such a clattering sound? Ancestor Taishu stepped down from his seat and said, everyone says that you, He Pingxing, are an honest and kind person, but it seems that you're not so honest after all. You're quite meticulous. First, lure Wu Wei here to disturb my mind, then you will hide quietly, making me mistakenly believe that you have run away. Then, taking advantage of the moment when I left the Taishu sect to search, they ran in the opposite direction. The design is perfect, the plan is perfect. They even calculated people's hearts perfectly. What a pity. Ancestor Taishu shook his head, his 2 eyebrows swaying from side to side as they floated across his chest. It's a pity your cultivation is too poor. If your cultivation were higher, or if your flying magic weapon were of a higher level, you really would have escaped. Chapter 162 Possession? Don't you have anything to say to me? The old man asked He Pingxing calmly. He Pingxing had now sobered up, and he smiled coldly. What's there to say about ants fighting for their lives? You win, I lose, it's that simple. Kill me or torture me, it's up to you. Snap, snap, snap. The old man reached out and clapped a few times, making a loud sound. Good, hero, honorable and righteous. Taishu stood up again, slowly walked around He Pingxing twice, and said, so now you say I am the victor and you are the loser. He Pingxing remained silent. Taishu continued, then, you loser, can you tell me why you ran away? Have I done anything to wrong you? He Pingxing said, why do you ask a question you already know the answer to? Taishu said, I'm just asking a question I already know the answer to. Please enlighten me, young master He. He Pingxing pointed behind him, the vast Taishu sect won't let me leave, confining me here. Don't you know what your intentions are? There's this too. He turned his arm and pointed to the large array on the ground that was not yet fully set up. This is clearly an array for possession. You're about to possess me, and you won't let me run away. Taishu was immediately stunned. Possession, possession. He looked at himself, then at the array beneath his feet, and nodded, saying, you think this is an array for possession? He Pingxing countered, isn't that right? Yes, yes, yes. Taishu nodded wearily. If you think so, then so be it. Anyway, you're the loser now, and I'm the winner. I can destroy your divine sense with a single thought. Escape is impossible. Interested in making a deal with me? The Grand Ancestor Taishu turned around with a smile, his back to He Pingxing, and slowly walked towards the two circular formations, one large and one small. With a few snaps, the array flags in his hands landed in the designated positions. The body-snatching formation has been improved further. He Pingxing asked, "Do as you please, whether you want to kill me or torture me. Is there any need for you to make any deals with me?" "Boring, boring." The old man shook his head like a rattledrum. "How much do you know about possession?" He Pingxing said, "Not many." The Grand Ancestor Taishu asked, "Then do you know what the success rate of this body-snatching is?" "Success rate?" He Pingxing was taken aback. He really didn't know that. Before he could answer, the old man who was setting up the formation opposite him muttered to himself, "Possession is the usurpation of the human and the laws of heaven and earth. The success rate is extremely low. Even with my current nascent soul stage cultivation, the success rate of me trying to possess you, a mere youth, is less than 10%. So my deal is this: you trade 1/10 of your life for a smooth future. How about it?" He Pingxing said, "This disciple doesn't quite understand." He. Taishu chuckled, "Once my formation is complete, I will attempt to possess your body. Of course, my chances of success are only 10%. If I succeed, you will disappear from this world, and I will then take over your body to continue my cultivation. If I fail, my life will come to an end. I'll give you this." He pointed behind him. "What do you think of the entire Taishu sect? The resources in the main hall on the left are all prepared for you. Also, the Taishu sect is yours. From now on, you are the master of the Taishu sect." He Pingxing was not tempted at all. He wouldn't gamble with his own life, not even if there was a 1 in 10,000 chance of death, let alone a 1 in 10,000. You can gamble on fate, you can gamble on opportunities, but you absolutely cannot gamble with your own life. Can this disciple refuse? He Pingxing asked. The old man shook his head. "No, a loser cannot refuse the conditions proposed by the winner. Sit here, sort out your soul, and restore your divine sense. That way, your chances of winning will be higher." After finishing speaking, the Grand Ancestor Taishu lay down on the ground again and began to set up the formation. Not long after, about half an hour later, 2 dark green light membranes appeared in the Taishu temple. A chilling wind blew in gusts, as if it came from the deepest depths of the underworld. The boundless yin energy burst out of the formation, drifting through the main hall, only to be violently dispersed by the 9 yang formation that had been set up around the hall. Just as I thought. He Pingxing's eyes narrowed. Everything before him was exactly as he had guessed. This 9 yang formation is used to suppress yin energy. Let's begin. Taishu Patriarch calmly said a sentence, and then He Pingxing felt his body was out of control. He was actually controlled by Taishu's divine sense and fell into the body-snatching formation. The body-snatching formation has 2 circles. 1 large circle, 1 small circle. The large circle represents the host position, while the small circle represents the guest position. He Pingxing took the main seat. The Grandmaster Taishu stood in the guest seat. Possession is a heaven-defying secret technique that allows one to turn the tables and become the master. Master, master. He Pingxing was so frightened that he wet himself. He pleaded, "Please don't do this, I beg you. As long as you don't try to possess me, I'll agree to anything else." So noisy. The Grand Ancestor Taishu's eyes darkened. "At this time, don't speak recklessly, or your mortality rate will be even higher." Boom. The divine sense of the Grand Ancestor Taishu suddenly erupted, enveloping He Pingxing. Under the control of this powerful divine will, He Pingxing was unable to use his body again, and could not even circulate his internal energy or speak. He could only watch helplessly as the divine sense of the Grand Ancestor Taishu seeped into his body inch by inch. With the powerful support of his soul, he was powerless to resist. Not bad, to actually possess such an incredible opportunity. It seems I didn't choose the wrong person. You even have a treasure like a cornucopia. Ha 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 ha. As expected of a chosen one of heaven, his future achievements will surely surpass mine. Suddenly, everything went black before He Pingxing's eyes, and he lost all consciousness. He was in a daze for some time before he woke up again. In the endless darkness, a ray of light flashed. Rain poured down relentlessly from the pitch-black night sky, a torrential downpour. Thunder rumbled across the sky, and lightning occasionally ripped through the night, illuminating the deep valleys. In a slightly elevated spot deep in the valley, there stands a 3-story wooden building. The building was brightly lit, and a tall man in a white Taoist robe stood on the railing with a worried expression. Pingxing shuddered. He knew this man. Isn't that Taishu? No, this should be Taishu in his youth. A young woman dressed in a light green Taoist robe walked out of the house. She was extremely beautiful, but her face, like Taishu's, was filled with a faint sorrow. Pingxing finally realized why he was seeing this scene. Possession. During the process of soul fusion, the two are intertwined, and both can see each other's past memories. This is Taishu's memories. Chapter 164. The Golden Lamp of Fortune. The memories belonging to the Grandmaster of the Void were revealed to Pingxing. Taishu has a family-inherited cultivation technique called the Taishu Great Mystery Scripture. This technique is of extremely high quality, reaching the heavenly rank. Moreover, it's a mid-grade heavenly rank item. Practicing this method allows one to reach a speed more than twice that of an ordinary person. However, after reaching the nascent soul stage, cultivation shifted from breaking through the physical barrier to breaking through the Tao barrier, so the cultivation speed of the Grandmaster of the Void also slowed down. When Taishu was about 500 years old, he had a son named Wu Wei. When Wu Wei was 7 years old, he was injured by his enemy using the supernatural power of Wood Spirit. His meridians gradually weakened, and it seemed that he would not live much longer. In the 5 elements, metal overcomes wood. With the power of pure gold being infused into Wu Wei's body daily, day after day, he will be able to fully recover. The key point is that Taishu does not have a metal spiritual root. Wu Wei's mother possessed the 5 elements of spiritual roots, but her cultivation level was extremely low. Although she had a metal spiritual root, the magical power in her dantian was insufficient. To save her son, the woman used her sword to dig out her own 5 elemental roots and gave them to her husband. After enduring the pain of absorbing the spiritual root, the Grand Ancestor Taishu completed the great profound scripture of Taishu. From then on, he was able to unleash the power of the 5 elements, and finally used the power of pure gold to help his son escape danger. But the mother who did nothing died because of this. This is the truth behind how the Grandmaster Taishu devoured the 5 elements' spiritual roots. Later, the ancestor who had mastered the great mystery scripture of the Great Void possessed extraordinary combat power, slaying all his enemies along the way and establishing the Great Mystery Sect. Of course, the memories of the Grand Ancestor Taishu are many more, and this part related to the Taishu Great Mystery Scripture is just a drop in the ocean. Pingxing wondered and watched through his memories. He didn't know how much time had passed when the darkness in front of him suddenly disappeared and turned into light. After a moment of confusion, Pingxing found that he could regain control of his body. My hands and feet can move again. The mind is free. It can make sounds now. He opened his eyes and looked around. An old man still stood in the guest seat of the formation in front. Taishu. Taishu remained motionless. I'm not dead. Pingxing shook his hand and said, could it be that this old bastard failed to possess someone and then died? Suddenly, the voice of the Grandmaster Taishu rang out, if you are not dead, how can I be? You. Pingxing kept saying you, so surprised that he didn't know what to say. Stop with the you. The ancestor said, you were half right just now. I'm not dead, but as you said, the possession attempt failed. All right, now you're not worried about me anymore, are you? Come over. My spiritual power is weak, help me over to sit down. Pingxing felt a mix of emotions, unable to say whether he hated Taishu or something else. Since the other party had failed to possess him, he wouldn't be in any danger. So Pingxing walked to Taishu's side, helped him walk through the main hall to the back door, and then sat down under his favorite old tree. Of course, even now, if Taishu really wanted him dead, he couldn't escape. Pingxing had no choice but to obey his orders. You have a lot of good fortune. After the old man sat down, he closed his eyes wearily, but kept muttering, "You even managed to obtain a treasure like the legendary treasure basin. No wonder you've been cultivating so quickly. You've been consuming top-grade pills all along the way." However, I am also puzzled. This treasure basin is clearly inside my Taishu sect. So many years have passed, and not a single one of these stupid pigs has discovered it. Why did you find out? He Pingxing said, "Perhaps this is my destiny." Yes. Opportunities are the most mysterious things. If you don't seize them, even if you leave them there for 1,000 or 800 years and the basin sinks into the mud, no one will take them, right? Before He Pingxing could answer, the Grandmaster Taishu let out a deep breath and said, "I'm so sleepy. I really want to take a long nap." He Pingxing said, "Then, I'll keep an eye on things for you. You can go to sleep slowly." "I can't sleep. There's no time left." The old man suddenly opened his eyes, his gaze flashing. "I don't have many hours left to live. Help me up, let's keep going. There are some important things I haven't told you yet." Walk. Taishu Patriarch had He Pingxing help him walk towards the back of the garden. At the very back of this plant garden, there is a tall artificial hill. The artificial mountain is made of a single giant rock, which is quite unique. The Grandmaster Taishu took out an iron plaque and tapped it twice. A small door appeared on the original, solid rockery. He Pingxing stared at the small door in shock. He's been coming and going here for years, and he didn't even know there was a door here. "Go in." Taishu led He Pingxing through the small door and along the sloping path. Before long, they arrived at a secret room. He Pingxing could sense that this was a secret chamber buried underground. The secret chamber was not large, only about 10 feet in circumference. It is about 10 feet tall. There was nothing special in the secret room, only a stone table and 2 stone stools. A row of bright pearls hung on the surrounding walls, so although this place was underground, it was exceptionally bright. On that stone table, there was a golden lamp. The lamp was not burning, but it exuded an ancient and desolate aura. In one corner of the secret room, there was a platform about 3 feet high, with some patterns gathered on it, the nature of which was unknown. Taishu sat down on a stool and said, "Actually, I lied to you before. I reached the age of 50 decades ago, so what is this 60-year cycle of lifespan?" That was just a lie. My life will end in an instant. After I die, do not tell anyone this news. Just announce to the outside world that I am still in seclusion for cultivation. In this way, you and the Taishu sect can be guaranteed safety for 60 years. Bring me that lamp. Taishu pointed to a golden lamp on the stone table. He Pingxing had noticed the lamp long ago. He carefully took it and placed it in Taishu's hand. The withered old man from Taishu stroked the golden lamp with his hand and said, "Our Taishu sect has an enemy, and that is the beast-taming sect. I killed the 2 nascent soul grand elders of the beast-taming sect. They say to nip it in the bud, nip it in the root, sigh. But I was too soft-hearted back then. I didn't kill all their disciples. Now, 2 of them have advanced to the nascent soul stage. They've become a scourge on our Taishu sect. The reason they haven't attacked our Taishu sect yet is because they fear my existence. Once the news of my death spreads, it will be the end of the Taishu sect." At this point, Taishu asked He Pingxing, "Do you understand what I mean?" He Pingxing said, "Understood, don't worry, I won't tell anyone." "That's not enough," said the Grand Ancestor Taishu. "The beast-taming immortal sect has an extremely powerful technique called Qi observation. Even if the news doesn't get out once I perish, they will know instantly if they use this technique to observe the fortune of our Taishu sect." He Pingxing frowned and said, "What should we do?" The old man said, "No rush, I have my own plan. This is the golden lamp of fortune." Chapter 164 Blood Infant. I will use my own essence and nascent soul to condense into lamp oil. As long as this golden lamp is lit, the aura and fortune of the Taishu sect will remain unchanged, just as always. May this golden lamp burn for 60 years. Taishu Laozi spoke slowly, and He Pingxing listened with trepidation. Is this old man really going to his death? They're not going to possess anyone anymore. I have a request of you. Taishu stared at He Pingsheng. Can you grant it? He Pingsheng cupped his hands and said, Please give your instructions, master. Good, good, good. Taishu said, It's good that you still acknowledge me as your master. After I leave, this golden lamp will burn for about 60 years. During these 60 years, you must cultivate diligently and strive to enter the nascent soul realm. Once you reach the nascent soul stage, with the advantage of your 5-element spiritual roots, you will surely dominate the region. With the defensive formations in our sect, we'll be able to easily contend with the beast-taming immortal sect. I do not ask you to make the Taishu sect flourish, I only ask that you give these disciples a place to stay, so that they will not be left with no place to stand and become wandering cultivators. He Pingsheng was silent for a while, then said, This disciple may not be able to do it. After all, I am only a foundation establishment cultivator now, and I still have 5 golden core senior brothers and sisters above me. Of course. Taishu said, This matter is about intention, not actions. You can agree if you agree. If something unexpected happens and you can't protect Taishu sect, then there's no need to defend it to the death. But remember one thing, as long as the green hills remain, there will always be firewood to burn. If something goes wrong and the golden lamp goes out prematurely, don't think about anything, just activate the teleportation array and leave immediately. As long as a person is alive, there is always hope. The old man's withered hand, like a tree branch, pointed to a corner of the hall. In that corner, there was another platform about 3 feet high. He Pingsheng had been wondering what this high platform was. Taishu said, This is the teleportation array I was just talking about. According to the 5 elements rules, there are 81 spirit stone slots on it. Before using it, put the spirit stones into them in order of their 5 elements attributes. You also need a mid-grade spirit stone as the array eye to activate the array and teleport you to a place 100,000 miles away in an instant. If the sect ever falls apart, use this teleportation array to leave. Remember this, after you teleport, you'll appear in another place where there's an identical teleportation platform. You must destroy that platform so the enemy can't catch you. Did you remember? He Pingsheng nodded and said, Yes, Master, I understand. The few cultivation resources I have here have been completely divided up by these unfilial descendants. Ancestor Taishu shook his head, So, there's nothing left for you. After I turned into lamp oil, I placed the golden lamp in the main hall and lit it. I depart. After saying that, the Grand Ancestor Taishu sat cross-legged on the ground, and then a nascent soul the size of a palm, as clear as glass, emerged from the top of his head. The appearance of that nascent soul was very similar to that of Taishu when he was young. Boy! The nascent soul emerged from the body and looked at He Pingsheng, saying, Before I leave, I'll give you one last piece of advice about life. He Pingsheng said, This disciple is all ears. Remember this, the nascent soul cultivator said, If you can't win, run. Ha ha ha. Suck. Rumble. To He Pingsheng's astonishment, the nascent soul exerted a sudden force, and countless streams of qi and blood flew out from Taishu Kang's aged body and surged into the glazed nascent soul. The nascent soul, which was originally almost transparent, turned blood red in an instant. From a distance, it looks as if it were carved with cinnabar. The body of Taishu instantly withered away, and in the blink of an eye, it was reduced to skin and bones, turning into a pile of corpses. The crimson nascent soul, carrying its full power of blood and qi, plunged into the golden lamp. The underground space suddenly became completely quiet. He Pingsheng was filled with mixed feelings and sat down on the stone bench, feeling lost and dejected. After about the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, he remembered Taishu's dying instructions and picked up the golden lamp. Master, oh Master! He Pingsheng took a deep breath and murmured to himself, The grudge between you and me for possessing my body is now settled. He carried the golden lamp out of the underground and came to the spirit plant garden. In the spirit plant garden, the tall ancient tree where the patriarch often rested and slept suddenly turned yellow and withered, and the leaves fell one by one. It was as if they had left this world together with the patriarch. He Pingxing paused under the giant tree for a while before entering the main hall. Light the golden lamp on a safe, elevated platform. A single spark could not illuminate the darkness, but a mysterious aura lingered around it. It's as if the founder is still here. Once everything was ready, He Pingxing tossed out his pink futon and lay down on it. Lying on his back on the ground, looking at the huge roof, the hall, which was covered by a fourth-grade formation, had finally become He Pingxing's safest sanctuary. Now, even if you take out the treasure bowl and play with it in different ways, you don't have to worry about anyone scanning it with their divine sense. It's safe now. But He Pingxing felt as if he had lost something. His heart was empty. Actually, when you think about it, apart from wanting to possess my body, this old thing is pretty good in every other way. Beast taming immortal sect. That's really strange. I noticed something unusual about this formation just now, so I rushed over to observe and speculate, and discovered that the fortune of the Taishu sect has dropped significantly in an instant. I thought that damned old man had died and ascended to heaven. In the darkness, beside a massive array, a middle-aged man dressed in a white Confucian robe stood with his hands behind his back, looking towards the direction of the Taishu sect. Not far behind the man sat an old man. The old man addressed the young man as senior brother and asked, "Senior brother, is it true that old man Taishu is dead?" "I don't know," said the middle-aged man in the scholar's robe. "In less than half an hour, the fortune and aura of the Taishu sect have returned to normal. It's truly unbelievable. How could the decline and increase of fortune happen in an instant? What exactly happened at the Taishu sect?" The old man sneered. "It must be that old bastard's doing. In my opinion, we two nascent soul cultivators are not afraid of him. What can he do to an old man in his 80s? If the two of us brothers charge in, how can he possibly take the hit?" "No." The middle-aged man in the scholar's robe shook his head and said, "The more critical the moment, the less we should act rashly. This old man has lived for 1,000 years. What storms hasn't he seen? If they deliberately dig a pit for us brothers to fall into, then it's not worth it. No rush, let's outlast him." Hehehe. The Taishu sect has no successors. Those cowards will become my victims sooner or later. By the way, did you find anything about the new disciple that old man I asked you to investigate last time? The middle-aged man in the scholar's robe looked at the bald old man. The bald old man shook his head and said, "Our spies are already making inquiries, but this kid is unknown in the sect, and there's really too little information about him." Chapter 165. When disaster strikes, everyone flies away. Come on, come on. Junior brother, please have a seat. Please take a seat of honor. Inside the inner affairs hall, the old Taoist Xianxia invited He Pingxing, and the two drank spiritual tea under a pine tree on the mountain peak. "How is it?" Xianxia asked, watching He Pingxing take a sip. "This is top-grade spiritual tea, which has a refreshing effect. If one reaches the nascent soul stage, one can use it to enhance their comprehension of the Tao." He Pingxing naturally didn't believe his nonsense. To comprehend the Tao? That's the enlightenment tea. But it's not like I haven't seen the enlightenment tea before. It doesn't taste good. He Pingxing didn't give Xianxia any face and said, "You might as well get some spirit fruit juice." Ha ha ha. Xianxia laughed heartily, saying, "Junior brother is indeed a kind and honest person, he. Thank you very much, junior brother. You gave me the Xianmen Tranquility Manual before. In the past few years of cultivation, my spiritual power has gradually increased, which has been of great benefit to my cultivation." "Is Master still in seclusion?" Xianxia asked tentatively. He Pingxing slowly sipped the spiritual tea and said, Then he said solemnly, "Senior brother Xianxia, I have a question I would like to ask you." Xianxia said, "Speak." He Pingxing gently placed the teacup on the stone table. "Senior brother, how much do you know about this body seizure technique?" "Possession." Upon hearing these two words, Xianxia trembled violently and asked, "Body seizure is to seize the ethics of heaven and earth, which is intolerable in the cultivation world. Moreover, it is an extremely profound Tao technique that ordinary cultivators cannot perform. Only nascent soul stage cultivators who have mastered the power of the rules of heaven and earth can practice the Tao of body seizure. Junior brother, why are you asking it? He Pingxing was taken aback. Can't a golden core cultivator possess another's body? How is that possible? Xianxia shook his head. Everything in the world has its own laws, and those in the golden core stage naturally cannot perform the body seizing technique. Otherwise, senior brother Wu Wei would have seized it long ago. He Pingxing nodded. He then asked, so, what's the success rate of possession? How could something defying the heavens possibly be possible? Xianxia said, although I don't understand, I do know that possession is a life or death situation for both parties. Generally speaking, the success rate of possession is less than 10%. If it fails, both the possessed souls will be completely destroyed. He Pingxing frowned. The common knowledge about possession can be found in some of the records of cultivation miscellaneous books. He Pingxing consulted many relevant books, and all the records matched Xianxia's account exactly. That means the possession is successful, the original body is destroyed, and the guest takes over the original body to cultivate. If possession fails, both the host and guest will essentially be destroyed. Of course, there are very few cases where the original body can survive even if the possession fails, but in such cases, the original body will almost certainly become mentally impaired for life. He Pingxing was puzzled. Why was I unharmed after the ancestor failed to possess me, and why did the ancestor not seem to have been completely destroyed? Could it be that the ancestor did not possess my body? But what was set up on the ground was clearly a body-snatching formation. I can't figure it out. Junior brother, why are you suddenly asking about these things? Xianxia asked, somewhat puzzled. He Pingxing smiled and said, I was just curious. Just be curious. This method of possession is too harmful to the natural order. Even those who succeed in possession usually don't have a good ending. Forget it, let's not talk about this. Xianxia shook his head and said, I invited junior brother here today because I have another important matter to discuss with you. He Pingxing said, please enlighten me, senior brother. It would be too formal to ask for your guidance. Xianxia waved his hand and said, I am getting old, and it seems that my cultivation can no longer make any progress. It is likely that my path to enlightenment will end here. Therefore, I plan to live out the rest of my lifespan, return to my hometown, marry a few concubines, have a few sons, and build a cultivation family. Please convey this message to Master, junior brother. This disciple is about to depart. He Pingxing was immediately taken aback and asked, senior brother, are you leaving the Taishu sect? No. Xianxia said, it's not that I want to leave the Taishu sect, but that from this day forward I will no longer pursue the great Tao. 3,000 miles west of here, deep in the mountains, I accidentally discovered a small mountain with faint spiritual energy, and at its foot lies a small spiritual vein. I intend to use this as a foundation to develop a cultivation family. Rest assured, from now on, my cultivation family will also be subordinate to the Taishu sect and will acknowledge the Taishu sect as the orthodox sect. He Pingxing didn't know how to respond, and could only say, but my master is currently in seclusion, so I can't see him. It's all right. Xianxia chuckled.
It's all fine.
It's normal for you to tell master after he comes out of seclusion. He Pingxing picked up the cup and took another sip of tea. The two remained silent for a long time. After a while, Xianxia took a deep breath and said, Junior brother, I am grateful for your kindness in giving me the divine refining technique. Today, I will tell you everything. He Pingxing nodded, please enlighten me, senior brother. I dare not presume to offer my guidance. Xianxia said, as the saying goes, when disaster strikes, everyone flees for their lives. You may not know this, but Hong Lao from the enforcement hall left the Taishu sect half a month ago under the pretext of traveling. I'm afraid it will be difficult for him to return. He Pingxing said, this. Senior brother Hong did not report to master. No need. Xianxia said, he's using the excuse of traveling, why should we report to master? In reality, they went to avoid trouble. Master is getting old and has now reached the age of 50. Everyone knows that our Taishu sect and the beast taming sect are sworn enemies. Even if Master comes out of seclusion, what are the chances that he can defeat the two nascent soul cultivators of the beast taming sect? We all saw it clearly. The old man was just bragging when he said he'd kill them after leaving the pass. An old man in his 80s, his life essence has long been exhausted. So what if his internal magical power is astonishing? The other party is not made of clay. Besides, there are two of them and he is alone. The other party also has the advantage of terrain and formation. Under these circumstances, how should we kill him? Xianxia picked up his teacup and took a sip. To put it another way, when Master comes out of seclusion and goes to provoke the beast taming sect, should we Golden Core disciples follow him or not? Going with them would be a pointless death. If you don't follow, then you are being disloyal and unfilial. Instead of being caught in a dilemma later, it's better to make a decision today. Hong Lao is gone, and I'm leaving too. Of the 5 Golden Core cultivators in the Taishu sect, besides the 2 of us, there are 3 others. As for the 5th brother, Jianzhu, and the eldest brother, Wu Wei, well, it would be good if they didn't add fuel to the fire. Even if we take a step back and assume that the old man doesn't cause trouble for the beast taming sect after he comes out of seclusion, he still won't have many years left to live. Once the old man is gone, given our hatred for the beast taming sect, they will definitely do everything in their power to destroy my Taishu. Who can resist then? Junior brother, are you the one to rely on? So, junior brother, I'm saying these harsh things, but you should understand, right? Xianxia looked at He Pingsheng with a cold eye. Chapter 166 Tracking. They're all shrewd people who've lived for hundreds of years. Who wouldn't understand? He Pingsheng nodded. In the words of the patriarch, these people have been eating at the Taishu sect for so many years, they've long been full. Now that the rules of the entire Taishu sect have changed, there's not much profit to be made anymore, and we have to take on huge risks. So why am I still here? He Pingsheng is not qualified to make an evaluation. The instinct to seek advantage and avoid harm is human nature. Didn't He Pingsheng himself want to escape a long time ago? All right, I wish you a bright future, senior brother. I will report to Master truthfully when he emerges from seclusion. He Pingsheng had no means to retain Xianxia. Then thank you very much, junior brother. Xianxia said with a grin. Also, the Internal Affairs Hall is the core of the entire Taishu sect and is related to the operation of the Taishu sect. After I leave, someone needs to take on the responsibility. I recommend someone to you, junior brother. If you think it's suitable, then appoint him. If you don't think it's acceptable, you can choose someone else. After he finished speaking, Xianxia clapped his hands. In the distance, a withered old man flew over on a sword. Upon seeing He Pingsheng, the man quickly knelt on the ground and said, "Greetings, martial uncle." He Pingsheng looked at it and realized it was Kumu Zhanren. Back then, he worked for the withered tree immortal in the Valley of Spirit Medicine, responsible for taking care of the blazing sunflower. And Wang Dun. However, Wang Dun was later killed. Upon seeing He Pingsheng, Master Kumu was also taken aback. He naturally knew that the ancestor had taken in a disciple named He Pingsheng, but he had forgotten what the boy who helped him collect pollen from the blazing sunflower looked like, so he did not connect the two. Now that we've met, I'm suddenly struck by the realization and utterly shocked. You. Kumu didn't know what to say. Xianxia's face darkened, and he said, "How rude." Yes. Kumu bowed to He Pingsheng again. He Pingsheng said, "No need for formalities. You are familiar with the many affairs of the Internal Affairs Hall, aren't you?" Master Kumu said, "I am familiar with it. I grew up in the Internal Affairs Hall since I was a child. Don't worry, Uncle Master, I will definitely manage the Internal Affairs Hall to your satisfaction." That's good. He Pingsheng nodded. From now on, you will be the deputy head of the Internal Affairs Hall, acting as the head of the hall. Back then, he secretly hid a bottle of pollen from the withered tree master, and now he's been given a deputy hall master position. This can be considered as settling the karmic debt. Back on Jade Dragon Peak, He Pingxing continued his cultivation. He did not go to the main hall, but instead cultivated in the side hall where he was located. He took the spirit gathering pill that the Grandmaster Taishu had prepared, unleashed a torrent of power to strengthen himself, and then devoured it to increase his cultivation level. He proceeded methodically, just as before, first raising all 5 dantian to the first level of the foundation establishment stage, and then refining his spirit, body, and magic. 2 years have passed in the blink of an eye. He Pingxing's 5 dantians have all reached the first level of the foundation establishment stage, and his spirit refinement has also caught up. Only his body training hasn't kept up, because he didn't have enough poison pills. When cultivating the 9 poisons refined golden body, you need poison pills of the corresponding level. To cultivate the foundation building chapter, you need poison pills from monsters at the foundation building stage. However, He Pingxing did not. The entire sect no longer keeps this thing. He Pingxing stepped out of the main hall. It's time to go out for a walk. Let's go to the Matushan market first and see if we can buy a second-grade poison pill. He waved his hand to open the flying sword, then stepped onto it and flew out with a whoosh, heading towards the direction of Matushan market. The speed is unparalleled. The speed of this sword flight is much faster than when I was in the Qi refining stage. Inside a magnificent hall on Qianxia Peak, Master Jianzhu looked at the Daoist nun before him and said calmly, "This is your last chance. He only has the cultivation of the first level of the foundation establishment stage. If you can't defeat him, you may never have another chance." "Yes." Feng Daogu gritted her teeth and said, "Master, rest assured, this disciple will definitely kill him." HMPH. Jianzhu snorted coldly, "Don't drag your master into this. Killing him is to settle your personal score. I have no grudge against him. Remember this, whether you live or die, it has nothing to do with me. Kill him and run. How far you can run depends on your luck. If I am no match for him and he kills me, I will absolutely not lift a finger. This is a family matter for the Feng family." Feng Daogu said, "Master, don't worry, I know what's important." A few breaths later, a streak of light shot out from Qianxia Peak and headed in the direction where He Pingxing was flying on his sword. Originally, Feng Daogu planned to catch up with He Pingxing, kill him quickly, and then escape, never to return to Taishu sect again. After all, He Pingxing was the patriarch's disciple. But what she didn't expect was that she would be unable to catch up with He Pingxing at all. He Pingxing's speed in controlling his sword was simply too fast. "Damn it!" Feng Daogu cursed as she flew on her sword. "This fellow's divine sense is so powerful now, it's almost on par with mine. It really is a spirit refining technique. Be careful when you face off later. But it's okay, if I can't catch you, I'll just ambush you on your way back." Since she knew that He Pingxing was heading to Matushan market, Feng Daogu wasn't in a hurry. In less than an hour, He Pingxing arrived at the entrance of Matushan market. "Sheath the flying sword." Stepping into the market, I found it to be exactly the same as it was years ago, with almost no changes. My dear reader, there's more to, even more exciting content awaits. The stalls are set up at the very front. The stalls had all sorts of items: talismans, pills, talisman paper, materials, array plates, and so on. He Pingxing's divine sense suddenly burst forth, sweeping across the area without restraint. With so many people around, as long as they're not facing each other, no one will know who's using their divine sense to spy. At a glance, most of them were in the Qi refining stage, and there were also some in the foundation establishment stage, but they were extremely rare. The middle-aged cultivator who sold pills at his stall was still there. Compared to 20 years ago, this cultivator has aged somewhat. His cultivation level had also reached the 11th level of the Qi refining stage. He Pingxing arrived at the middle-aged cultivator's stall. His 2 refining spirit techniques were both obtained by strengthening incomplete techniques purchased from this middle-aged cultivator's stall. "Hello, young brother." The middle-aged cultivator greeted He Pingxing casually because he saw that he was young, but before he could finish saying young brother, he suddenly realized that he could not see through the cultivation level of the cultivator in front of him at all. His divine sense swept into the other's body, but it was like a mud ox entering the sea, and he disappeared without a trace. He immediately sensed something was wrong and hurriedly cupped his hands in greeting, saying, "Senior, I'm sorry for the intrusion." "It's all right," He Pingxing said. "Besides these things, do you have any other items here?" The middle-aged cultivator asked, "What does Senior desire?" He Pingxing said, "I want the poison pills of demonic beasts. Moreover, it's a poison pill from a second-grade demonic beast." No. The middle-aged cultivator's face fell as he said, "Poison pills are rarely needed. Some people might kill a second-grade demon beast but still not bother to get the poison pills. However, you can check out the other stalls, or the Chamber of Commerce inside." Chapter 167 Pre-order. He Pingxing did not immediately enter the Chamber of Commerce, but continued to wander around the stalls outside. Just as the middle-aged cultivator said, even if someone obtains a poison pill, very few people will actually take it out. It's not very useful, aside from some toxic repairmen. Therefore, He Pingxing felt that even if he went to the Chamber of Commerce, he might not be able to gather them all. If he could get one or two from the stalls, that would be the best. Unfortunately, he spent half an incense stick's time searching through almost all the stalls but still couldn't find the poison pill. One stall owner even asked him innocently, "What is a poison pill?" He Pingxing had no choice but to continue walking forward and enter the Chamber of Commerce area. Looking up, I saw a familiar Chamber of Commerce, Fengez Huang. He was sent by the Master Kumu to sell pollen from the Liang flower at Matu Mountain, and the transaction took place in this very place. "Let's go in and take a look." Manager Liu, sitting behind the counter, glanced at He Pingxing. Without even using his divine sense, he judged He Pingxing's appearance, age, and behavior by the fact that he was just a chi refining stage disciple. He didn't even stand up, but simply greeted him casually, saying, "What would you like, esteemed guest?" He Pingxing didn't speak, but gently extended his divine sense and swept it over Manager Liu's body. The foundation building phase consists of 4 layers. The key point is that Manager Liu didn't seem to notice He Pingxing's glance. He Pingxing was immediately surprised. No way, there was no reaction at all? One more time. He Pingxing scanned it again to try. Shopkeeper Liu's face immediately turned ugly. "Kid, once is fine, but what's the meaning of scanning twice in a row?" Forehead. He Pingxing immediately looked embarrassed. It seems that it's not that they didn't react, but rather that as a shopkeeper, they've been scanned so many times every day that they've probably become numb to it. He Pingxing smiled apologetically and said, "I'm sorry, senior brother, I was just curious for a moment, please forgive me." Shopkeeper Liu's eyes narrowed slightly, and he hurriedly extended his divine sense to scan He Pingxing. He was immediately shocked and said, "Hey, junior brother, your apologies. Your apologies. So you're a foundation establishment stage cultivator." Manager Liu stood up hurriedly from his seat, cupped his hands, and said, my apologies, my apologies. What would you like to order, junior brother?" While the foundation establishment stage may not be considered a particularly high level of cultivation, it is still respectable in the cultivation world, where countless cultivators exist. He Pingxing looked around the guild hall and said, "I would like to ask Poison if your guild has any pills. And it has to be a second-grade poison pill." Poison pills. Upon hearing this, the shopkeeper stiffened, then his sharp gaze returned to He Pingxing, now filled with a hint of wariness. In his view, those who wanted poison pills were all poison cultivators. Poison cultivators are all difficult to deal with. They'll poison you without warning, and you won't even know how you died. "I'm sorry, brother." Manager Liu smiled wryly and said, "My shop really doesn't have that item, not even a first-grade one, let alone a second-grade one. To be honest, even if we received this item, it wouldn't be easy to sell it." He Pingxing asked, "Senior brother, do you know where I can buy it?" How could Manager Liu dare offend a poison cultivator? He quickly said, "Junior brother, this stuff is not easy to buy. As far as I know, not only does this shop not have it, but the merchant guilds here probably don't have it either. As for where I can buy it, I don't know either. However, if you urgently need it, junior brother, You can go and take a look in Black Frontier. Cultivators frequently travel in and out of the Black Frontier. You should be able to buy it there. He Pingxing shook his head. I won't go to Black River. Too far. And how do you collect it? You can't just squat there and set up a stall, saying you want to buy poison pills, can you? Fellow Daoist. He Pingxing cupped his hands and said, do you have a collection service here? You can post the task and someone will come to pay the poison pills after a while. This. Manager Liu nodded and said, that service is indeed available. However, regarding this price, I suggest 50 spirit stones each. Although poison pills are considered useless by most cultivators, they are still something from the body of a second-grade demon beast, and not all demon beasts have them. Therefore, 50 spirit stones each is more appropriate. He Pingxing nodded, okay. How much does junior brother need? Manager Liu asked again. He Pingxing said, help me collect 100 first. Oh, and if you have any grade 3 poison pills, please keep them for me too. 100. Manager Liu's mouth dropped open in shock. Then he said, if it's just one, I can waive the service fee. But if it's 100, brother, there's still a service fee to pay. He Pingxing nodded, how much? There's no such thing as a free lunch. Paying a little money is normal. Manager Liu said, normally, we take 10%, but since you need a large quantity, I can decide to take only 5%. Collecting 100 poison pills would cost 5,000 spirit stones. A 10% service fee would be 500 stones, and a 5% service fee would be 250 stones. He Pingxing said, okay, no problem. He reached in and took out a storage bag. This is the lowest grade of storage bag, usually used to decorate the storefront. He Pingxing dumped the storage bag onto the shopkeeper's table. At first, Manager Liu thought He Pingxing was going to dump spirit stones, but then he was dumbfounded. Low-grade magic weapon flying sword, mid-grade magic weapon flying sword, gun, knife. There was a huge pile of all sorts of magical artifacts. All in all, there are more than a dozen items. Hiss hiss hiss. Manager Liu next to him gasped. Who the hell would carry 8 flying swords around with them if they had nothing better to do? You can tell with your but that this thing definitely does not belong to this guy. Is it something that this guy got by killing many monks outside? Good guy. None of these poisonous cultivators are easy to mess with. Shopkeeper, please help me take a look. How much are all my things worth together? He Pingxing nodded casually. Okay. The shopkeeper started to tidy up. In fact, low-grade magical instruments are worthless. All the dozens of magic weapons added together amounted to just over 2,000 spiritual stones. He Pingxing made up the rest. Okay. Shopkeeper Liu said, please take this concentric talisman. If the poison pill arrives later, I can notify you to come and collect it. You can take this jade token. If you don't have time to come, you can also ask the disciples to come. Okay. He Pingxing received a concentric talisman and jade tablet. Do you need anything else? The shopkeeper looked at He Pingxing and was a little more respectful. He Pingxing said, I'll go take a look. He also wanted to buy some other items for self-defense. It's best to use a talisman. Every time He Pingxing fought with someone, he always relied on talismans to escape. It would be good if he could buy more talismans. If you like Cornucopia Bowl, please collect it. www.shuhaiju.net. Cornucopia Bowl Shuhage Novel Network has the fastest update speed on the entire internet. Chapter 168 Another Battle with Feng Daogu Junior Brother. What would you like to buy? Manager Liu put away the items and spirit stones, and accompanied He Pingxing into the Chamber of Commerce. He Pingxing looked around. He doesn't need magical artifacts or treasures. The old man had already prepared the elixirs for cultivation. They were in the side hall, so there was no need for them. All that's needed is a talisman. I've used up all the mountain moving talismans among the second-grade talismans, but I still have 4 heavenly fire talismans left. This heavenly fire talisman was enhanced using the blazing fire talisman. I've never used it before, so I don't know its power. Based on the ability of first-grade talismans like the Ice Arrow Talisman and Fireball Talisman to instantly kill any Qi refining stage disciple, He Pingxing believed that this Heavenly Fire Talisman should be able to instantly kill any Foundation Establishment stage disciple. With the improvement of He Pingxing's cultivation, it can now be said that Foundation Establishment stage disciples no longer pose a significant threat to him. The threat comes more from cultivators of a higher level. For example, disciples at the Golden Core stage. Take Wu Wei, for example. He and Wu Wei seem to have no animosity, but given the chance, He Pingxing believed that Wu Wei would definitely cause trouble. From this perspective, it seems we should also prepare some rank 3 attack talismans. Where is the second-grade talisman? He Pingxing asked. Shopkeeper Liu said, Junior brother, this way please. Second-grade talismans are not on this level. He Pingxing only saw it after the two went up to the second floor. However, there aren't many types. Besides the fiery talisman, there's only one called the sharp metal talisman. This sharp metal talisman is also an offensive talisman. Once unfolded, it can immediately emit a sharp metal aura that can injure the enemy. Each sharp gold talisman is priced at around 3,000 spirit stones. Too expensive. But I'll buy it no matter how expensive it is. Senior brother, please give me 2 sharp metal talismans. He Pingxing paid 6,000 spirit stones and received 2 sharp gold talismans. Do you have any rank 3 talismans? He Pingxing asked again. Shopkeeper Liu's face fell, and he said, No, what are you thinking, junior brother? Our cultivation alliance relies entirely on Qianfu Mountain for all its talisman supplies. Not only are third-grade talismans difficult to make with a low success rate, but the materials are also extremely precious. Each third-grade talisman is a trump card and a powerful weapon in the hands of a Golden Core stage ancestor. You might not be able to buy one even for tens of thousands of spirit stones. If our Chamber of Commerce existed, those high-ranking members of the Cultivation Alliance would have bought it long ago. How could it have been left until now? This kind of thing can only appear at a trade fair for Golden Core cultivators. We can't touch it. Not to mention our Fenghe Manor, none of the merchant guilds in this Matushan market could possibly possess a third-grade talisman. All right. If you don't have it, you don't have it. I'll ask senior sister Qiao when I go to Qianfu Mountain next time. After leaving Fengge's Huang, He Pingxing did not go into the Chamber of Commerce inside. All the chambers of commerce here sell pretty much the same things. He then strolled around the street stalls. To be honest, ever since the 3 little cuties were scammed by a lousy old man here last time, He Pingxing has developed a psychological aversion to buying things from street stalls. Avoid touching things at street stalls, especially things you don't recognize. Following this principle, He Pingxing went around in circles again. Boss, what is this round, bulging thing? Let me see it. He Pingxing stopped in front of a stall. The stall owner looked very young. A quick scan with divine sense revealed that the other party's cultivation level was only at the 6th level of the Qi refining stage. They're quite bold, daring to set up a stall on a mere 6th floor. Okay, senior brother. The guy thought He Pingxing was a Qi refining stage disciple, so he casually called him senior brother and handed over a dark, round, cake-like thing. He Pingxing naturally didn't care about senior or junior brothers, and picked up the round cake to look at it. Judging from his intuition, this should be a formation plate. To be precise, it's an incomplete array plate. This array plate is half broken. He Pingxing weighed the array plate in his hand. Where did you get this? The boy chuckled, then said somewhat reluctantly, I found it, If you like it, senior brother, just give me any price. He Pingxing couldn't tell what level this array was or what its purpose was. But it doesn't matter. I'll put it back into the treasure basin to strengthen it. Even if it only strengthens into 2 level 1 array plates, I'll still make a profit. 10 spirit stones, how about that? He Pingxing asked the boy. The boy was overjoyed and said, Okay. For He Pingxing now, 10 spirit stones are really neither matter of profit nor loss. If we lose money, so be it. After handing over the spirit stones, he casually tossed the array plate into his storage bag and then flew away on his sword. He Pingxing planned to go back and strengthen the talisman first. If Fenghe Manor received the poison pill, he would send someone to retrieve it, so he wouldn't have to make the trip himself. However, after flying for less than half an incense stick's time, he Pingxing saw a cluster of sword light suddenly shoot up from the ground in the distance, blocking him in mid-air. Who else could it be but Feng Daogu, who flew on a sword? From a distance of 100 feet, Feng Daogu swung her long sword violently, sending a beam of sword light crashing down from the sky.
Nun Feng.
He Pingxing's eyes narrowed slightly, and the next moment he immediately took out a round little shield, the top-grade spiritual artifact, the sacred wood shield. Open! The wood attribute spiritual energy within his body surged into the small shield, causing all 8 layers of restrictions on the shield to be broken. My dear reader, there's more to, even more exciting content awaits. A thick, green shield suddenly appeared in front of He Pingxing. The green light shield was a full 10 feet in diameter. The wood elemental power within He Pingxing's body continued to surge into the sacred wood shield. He Pingxing didn't know if the shield could withstand the power of Feng Daogu's sword. But now he has nowhere to hide. The opponent's attack came too fast, he had no time to activate any talismans. Because it used to take several breaths to activate the talisman. Open! At the same time, He Pingxing circulated the metal spiritual power within his body, and a thick metal-type shield was erected. Spell, Vajra Shield. With 2 layers of protection, I refuse to believe it can't withstand the power of your sword. Just as He Pingxing opened the sacred wooden shield, a multicolored sword light descended like a bolt of lightning. Bang! The phantom of the holy wood shield blocked the sword strike. However, the light and shadow of the holy wood shield suddenly dimmed, and with a bang, it was torn apart by the sword light. Fortunately, although the shield was broken, it blocked about 90% of the sword energy. Less than 10% of the sword energy landed on the Vajra shield, but was easily blocked by the spell, Vajra Shield. After blocking the attack from Feng Daogu, He Pingxing quickly lowered his flying sword from the sky. Fighting on the ground is safer than fighting at high altitudes. At least you don't have to worry about falling to your death, right? Feng Daogu wasn't stupid either. Seeing He Pingxing land, she moved her feet and followed closely behind. Before He Pingxing could regain his footing, Feng Daogu, who was already within 30 feet of him, raised her hand again and slashed out with her sword. The sword energy mixed with the sword light transformed into a 3-jonglong bolt of lightning that slashed down. Chapter 169. Another slaying of a Foundation Establishment cultivator. This sword strike was more powerful because it was at a closer distance. He Pingxing had no time left to activate the holy wood shield. He could only roll on the spot to try to dodge the sword light, while at the same time countless metal-type magic powers surged out from his body and replenished the Vajra shield. Whether they can withstand it or not depends on this. The sword light swept across the void, carving a long trench in the ground, and landed on He Pingxing's shield in the next moment. Bang! Although He Pingxing moved his body slightly, he ultimately could not dodge the attack of the sword light. The golden light membrane surrounding his body was instantly torn apart. The remaining sword light struck his body. The upper part of his Taoist robe was torn into countless pieces. Fortunately, He Pingxing possessed body-refining techniques, and was able to block all the remaining sword light thanks to his strong physical body. The towering ancient trees around them fell one by one. Flames erupted, and countless creatures fled from the forest, causing chaos at the scene. Regardless, He Pingxing managed to block both of Feng Daogu's attacks unscathed. Good lad. After unleashing 2 sword lights in succession, Feng Daogu's magical power was somewhat insufficient, so she was unable to launch a 3rd attack in time. Taking advantage of this opportunity, she started cursing again. She actually blocked 2 of my sword strikes. As expected of a disciple personally trained by the ancestor. He Pingxing, you are doomed to die today. I was careless last time. This time I'll show you the difference between a peak Foundation Establishment cultivator and a piece of trash like you. In the short time it took to say those few words, Feng Daogu's 3rd sword light condensed and slammed down again. But it didn't work. He Pingxing also took advantage of the opportunity to activate the holy wood shield. After opening the sacred wood shield this time, He Pingxing did not use his metal attribute magic to open the Vajra shield. Instead, it was a desperate counterattack. He filled his meridians with wood attribute magic power, and after a slight circulation, a surge of spiritual energy burst forth. Boom! Feng Daogu's merciless sword light fell. Just like the first time, the protective barrier formed by the sacred wooden shield around He Pingxing's body was instantly torn apart. But it's okay. He Pingxing waved his hand and took out a treasure, the 9 Luminaries dragon-slaying banner. With a casual wave of his hand, he used offense as defense. The banner stretched out and stirred, shattering all the remaining force of the sword light. These remaining forces transformed into countless bursts of energy, surging forth and spreading outwards. 2 more trees were broken. At the same time, brambles appeared out of thin air from the ground, with more than a dozen brambles wrapping around Feng Daogu from different angles at the same time. Spell: Sacred Wood Poison Dragon Technique. The vines, like thorny venomous snakes, coiled around Feng Daogu with unparalleled speed. Feng Daogu was a cultivator at the great perfection of the foundation establishment stage. She had failed to break through to the golden core stage several times and could now be considered to be at the pseudo-core stage. Therefore, she would not be so easily entangled by the thorns. Cut! With a wave of her hand, Feng Daogu unleashed a burst of sword light, slicing almost all of the vines in half with a hissing sound. Although some of the poisonous stingers flew out and sprayed venom, they ultimately failed to reach Feng Daogu's body. HMPH. A cold smile appeared on Feng Daogu's face. He Pingxing, you are very powerful, but unfortunately, your cultivation level is too low. Go to hell. Feng Daogu held her sword with both hands and slashed at He Pingxing. He Pingxing moved his feet and shifted 10 feet to the side, barely dodging the sword energy attack. However, the next moment, he felt the ground beneath his feet shake. Bang! A huge ice spike, about 10 feet long, suddenly emerged from the ground. If he hadn't reacted in time, he would have been pierced through the body by the ice spike. Bang! Bang bang bang! One after another, ice spikes surged from the ground, chasing after He Pingxing as he retreated. In an instant, a huge ice dragon formed on the ground. Again! Feng Daogu gave He Pingxing no chance to retaliate. She leaped into the air and slashed down with her sword from a distance. He Pingxing also leaped into the air. Open! All 8 layers of restrictions on the black flag in his hand were activated, and it pierced out with a bang. The next moment, a thick bolt of silver lightning burst forth and blasted towards Feng Daogu's sword light. Spell: Great Banner Lightning Spell. The 2 attacks collided. Then it exploded in the middle. An unparalleled energy surge formed a shockwave visible to the N*Ked, which rushed outwards at an angle. The huge trees around them fell one by one. However, in this attack, He Pingxing was clearly at a disadvantage again, because his lightning power was exhausted, while the opponent's sword energy was still more than 50% strong and was slashing towards him. Open! Holy Wood Shield. It was only after activating the Holy Wood Shield for the 3rd time that the opponent's attack was completely blocked. At this point, He Pingxing's wood attribute Dantian had dried up. The attacks that were just launched were almost entirely supported by the spiritual power of the wood attribute Dantian. The Holy Wood Shield was activated 3 times, and the Holy Wood Poison Dragon technique was used once. There was also another instance where the Great Banner Lightning technique was used. Lightning belongs to the element of wood, so it naturally consumes wood spiritual energy. Fearing an attack from the Daoist Nun Feng, He Pingxing waved his hand and took out the soul-destroying bell. It burst open with a bang. Having suffered from the soul-destroying bell before, when she saw He Pingxing take out the bell, Feng Daogu quickly retreated. My dear reader, there's more to, even more exciting content awaits. He Pingxing breathed a sigh of relief. You can just step back. What he wanted was not to destroy the opponent with the soul-destroying bell, but to scare them away first. Then set aside some time to activate the talisman. No way. We simply can't win in a direct confrontation. This peak foundation establishment stage cultivator is just too powerful. We can only rely on external aids. He Pingxing waved his hand and took out a 2nd-grade talisman. Top quality. Name: Vajra Talisman. When I went to the Hu family to attend Hu Muxian's wedding, I obtained a second-grade talisman, the Golden Bone Talisman, at the trade fair. After being strengthened, it became 2 Vajra talismans. I already used one when I was collecting Changping Dao Ren and Feng Daogu. I still have one left. This is the last second-grade defensive talisman. Open! He Pingsheng shouted loudly. After a breath, a golden shield of light enveloped his body. He Pingsheng was overjoyed. When he was in the qi refining stage before, it took him 3 full breaths to activate this talisman. This time, it only took 1 breath. It will be soon. Damn it! Feng Daogu cursed in the void. How do you still have this damned thing? Cut! She suddenly lunged forward and slashed at He Pingsheng with her sword. He Pingsheng was not afraid. Last time, it took Feng Daogu 4 sword strikes to cut off He Pingsheng's Vajra talisman. Theoretically speaking, the Vajra talisman should be able to withstand at least 4 sword strikes this time. So he remained unmoved as the sword light fell, and instead reached out and took out another talisman, the Heavenly Fire Talisman. This thing was enhanced from a second-grade talisman called the Blazing Fire Talisman. He Pingsheng knew that he could not kill Feng Daogu by his own strength. Since that's the case, then we'll just have to waste 2 talismans. Open! He Pingsheng gave another soft shout, and after a breath, the talisman in his hand transformed into a fireball. Go! With a whoosh, the fireball flew out and headed towards Feng Daogu. Feng Daogu wasn't stupid. Upon seeing the fireball, she quickly flew away on her sword. However, to her surprise, the fireball automatically pursued her and struck her in the back with a bang. In an instant, flames erupted. In the endless flames, Feng Daogu was reduced to ashes in an instant. Chapter 170. Chaoyuan Pill. Seeing that the Taoist nun Feng was killed by the talisman without even a chance to struggle, He Pingsheng breathed a deep sigh of relief. Then he ran to the place where Feng Daogu fell to her death, picked up her storage bag, and found another flying sword. After the fire generated by the Heavenly Fire Talisman attacked Feng Daogu, the remaining energy exploded in the distance, instantly igniting a huge mountain fire among the many ancient trees in the mountains. He Pingsheng didn't dare to linger. After drinking a drop of Golden Bee elixir to replenish his depleted dantian, he took out the cloud-piercing boat and flew into the void with a whoosh. The Vajra talisman was still stretched out outside He Pingsheng's body and had not been retracted. After all, this Taoist nun Feng has a master. Who knows if that golden core stage sword bamboo might be nearby? If it were to ambush him and strike, that would be disastrous. Let's get out of here. Fortunately, he arrived safely without encountering any enemy attacks. He Pingsheng hurriedly entered the Great Formation and arrived at his dojo. Call. After returning to the dojo, he breathed a sigh of relief. As long as I don't admit to killing Feng Daogu, what can anyone do to me? Anyway, nobody saw it. After consoling himself, He Pingsheng's gaze fell on Feng Daogu's flying sword. The flying sword is of decent quality. The artifact is of superior quality. This thing doesn't need to be upgraded. I'll give it to my master later. Laugh. He Pingsheng quickly erased the mark with a thought. Then, open Feng Daogu's storage bag. If you win, you'll definitely need to tally up the spoils. First of all, this storage bag is of a very high level. This is not an ordinary, low-grade storage bag, but a top-grade one. That's right. It's a high-quality storage bag that's 10 feet long and wide. The most conspicuous thing in the storage bag was a large pile of spirit stones. He Pingsheng's divine sense swept over it, and the number of spirit stones was revealed, about 40,000. He Pingsheng was stunned. How come this woman has so many spirit stones in the enforcement hall? How did they embezzle this money? Ignore the spirit stones and continue reading. Materials, elixirs, and precious artifacts. He Pingsheng didn't study these things in detail. Instead, he had a sudden thought and took out all the jade slips and books from the storage bag. During their previous encounter, He Pingsheng noticed that the old Taoist nun was using the Ice Spike spell, which was quite good. Caught off guard, it will surely give the enemy a big surprise. Hopefully, we can find the spell for the ice spikes among these jade slips. He Pingsheng began to examine the books one by one. Actually, it's easy to find them. Just look for water and ice attribute techniques and spells. There are not many records in this regard. There is only one book in total. It was a blue jade slip. The jade slip contained only one spell. Name, Ice Spikes. Grade, Mystic Rank Function. By using the water attribute Dantian to drive spiritual power, it can continuously condense 108 giant ice spikes to attack enemies. This is it. He Pingsheng happily singled out this spell. However, thinking about this, he reviewed his battle with Feng Daogu. The entire battle proceeded without major issues. Feng Daogu kept attacking, and he even managed to find an opening to counterattack once while defending. After all, the difference in their cultivation levels was too great. Before using talismans, their performance was practically perfect. However, He Pingsheng also had his troubles. That means his wood attribute Dantian has dried up. This is a very annoying thing. Although he has 5 Dantians and cultivates all 5 elements, wood is his primary attribute. The Holy Wood Shield, Holy Wood Poison Dragon Technique, and Great Banner Thunder Technique all consume wood spirit power. Although the Golden Bee Elixir can replenish spiritual power at any time, there is simply no time to consume the elixir in a battle that truly determines life or death. This is a very awkward situation. He Pingsheng deeply missed the great mysterious scripture of the Great Void that the old fellow Taishu had mentioned. According to the old man, once this thing is cultivated, it can transform all the myriad phenomena into formless and shapeless forms. The remaining earth, fire, metal, and water elemental energies within the body can be transformed into wood elemental energies in an instant. If one possessed the great mystery scripture of the Great Void, then one's magical power would truly be boundless. What a pity. The old man died, and he took the great mystery scripture of the Great Void with him to another world. I've organized the jade slips. Then He Pingsheng sorted through the rest of the items and found an unexpected item in Feng Daogu's storage bag, Chaoyuan pill. Although it's only a low-grade pill, the Chaoyuan pill is actually a third-grade pill. What is Chaoyuan Dan? It has a similar effect to the foundation building pill and can be used to break through to a higher realm. The Chaoyuan pill is for cultivators at the peak of the 12th level of the foundation establishment stage. Once consumed, there is a certain probability of advancing to the golden core stage. That's really strange. He Pingsheng looked at the pill in front of him and muttered to himself in confusion. Feng Daogu was originally a cultivator at the peak of the foundation establishment stage, so why didn't she just swallow this Chaoyuan pill to break through to the golden core stage, but instead kept it? What He Pingsheng didn't know was that Feng Daogu had already taken 3 Chaoyuan pills. Of course, the quality is all inferior. Unfortunately, none of the 3 pills were enough to help her break through. This was the last one on her body, and it would most likely be useless to eat it again, so Feng Daogu kept it, thinking that she would eat it when the opportunity came in the future. Unexpectedly, He Pingsheng got it. It can be enhanced. After cleaning up Feng Daogu's belongings, He Pingsheng also brought over the items he had purchased at the Matushan market. There are 4 areas that need improvement. First, spell, Ice Spikes. Second, Chaoyuan Dan. Third, second-grade talisman, Sharp Metal Talisman. Fourth, an unidentified, damaged, array plate. Next comes the reinforcement, one by one. On the first day, the Ice Spikes skill was upgraded to 2 levels. A spell called Crystal World is a heavenly rank spell. Once cast, it can instantly create a massive ice palace in the air to freeze the opponent. However, this thing also consumes a lot of spiritual energy. It can drain the water attribute Dantian in one go. The second book is called Poisonous Ice Spike Technique, a heaven rank spell. Once cast, it can instantly create massive ice spikes that pierce out from the ground, and these ice spikes can also carry poison. Which one should you cultivate? He Pingsheng hadn't decided yet. Both of these ice techniques were extremely powerful. We'll talk about which one to practice later. Keep strengthening. Next, Chaoyuan Dan. 1 low-grade Chaoyuan pill was upgraded into 2 top-grade Chaoyuan pills. 2 second-grade, sharp gold talismans were enhanced into 4 top-grade, heavenly gold talismans. On the last day, the device being upgraded was the old array plate that I bought from a street stall for 10 spirit stones. He Pingxing originally thought that after this thing was strengthened, it should be able to return to its original state and become 2. Can. No. A night passed, and the array plate still lay quietly in the treasure bowl. The quantity and the extent of damage remained the same. It looks exactly the same as before it was placed in. Upon seeing this, He Pingxing's eyes narrowed slightly.